The purpose of Wealth Talk is to educate, inform, and hopefully entertain you on the subject of building your wealth. WealthBuilders recommends you should always take independent financial, tax, or legal advice before making any decisions around your finances.
Welcome to episode 166 of Wealth Talk. My name is Christian Rodwell, the Membership Director for WealthBuilders, joined by my side today, Mr. Kevin Whelan. Hello, Kevin.
Hello. Hello, Chris. Good to be with you today. You sounded a bit rusty there for the introduction. Maybe it's episode 166. You think it's like a new route 166. I don't know. Anyway,
we all know you are great leader and founder, Kevin.
All hail, Kev. All hail, Kev.
Oh, well, look, we're in good spirits today because we're kicking off our brand new 6 weeks D.E.B.I.T.S challenge today. And we're super excited. We've got a whole new community we've built up of people who are just ready to make some big savings, some big wins, to find some hidden money in their life, which they can put to good use, Kevin. And this all came about from actually last week's webinar that we held, which was titled How to Navigate the Financial Storm Ahead. And we had record number of attendance and registrations for that. So we announced the D.E.B.I.T.S challenge last week, and we thought, let's share it on this week's episode with everyone who maybe didn't catch it.
Yeah, and just to give you a little trail for it. So it's find money. That's often hidden and overlooked. We know everybody's got money, but they don't take stock of things enough. And there's never been a better time to take stock than right now, when the storm's just about to hit. So good timing to do that. Make money. Let's not forget making money. New ways to gain additional income or additional capital. So we're not going to miss out on that one. And then how to take the money you save or make and plant it like a seed. Leverage it to build more wealth. And the reason to do that, to find money, make money, and then plant it and build wealth, is to protect yourself from future events that will happen inevitably. Again, like they did in 2008, like they're doing in 2022, like they will do again in 20-something. It will happen again. So the stronger and more diverse you can build your wealth. And also the 6-week challenge just gives a period, Chris, of focus and energy. Well, you could tell we're having a good time doing this and finding not just our own ideas on where these savings and the makings can come from, but because we're building a whole community of people doing it, and they're going to find some things we've never even dreamed of. And I'm so looking forward to the feedback. And, and it's great to see that some people are signing up saying, this is a no-brainer. I'm just going to go with it. And the reason it's a no-brainer is, Chris, look, inflation 10%, right? Lots of things are 10. But if I can promise you 10 times your money, right? An ROI of 10 times your money, not 10%, 10 times. If you give me 1,000, would you take 10?
Yeah,
you would. So all we're doing is we're offering people for less than £100 to work with us for 6 weeks, and it's a great introduction to who we are anyway. And we'll make sure that you earn or make or have an impact through the leverage, at least £1,000. And that's really the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more that we'll find. And some people, as we've already experienced, have benefited when we've done debits before, debt, education, bills, insurance, tax, and stock market fees. That's kind of a framework. That's what D.E.B.I.T.S means. And you've probably heard this before in other podcasts, but if you haven't and you're new to us, that's what that means. It's a framework to be focusing your energy. So we'll be doing 6 weeks, one for each section there, one on debt, education, bills, insurance, tax, and stock market fees, with massive savings to be had. So £1,000 would be the least you could expect. And so anyway, let's not keep chatting about it. Let's see if we can just replay what we did last week, and hopefully it'll resonate with a few more people who decide to play full on instead of battening down the hatches and hiding from the storm that's coming.
Yeah, we're going to play the replay in just a second. But if you want to go and check out the details of the challenge right now, head to www.wealthbuilders.co.uk/challenge. And if you're listening to the to podcast when it comes out today, Wednesday, the 21st. We are actually kicking off with week 1 today. But don't worry, if you're listening to this a few days or even a few weeks after, you can still jump in and join the challenge. We're going to be recording all the sessions and you can get access to those, watch those back and catch up. So don't worry, if you're listening a little bit after the launch date, you can definitely still join in the fun.
And somebody who plays full on for the 6 weeks is also going to win a free membership to work with us for a whole year, Chris.
Absolutely.
Worth, I think, 3,000.
That's
give
right.
Or take, just a nip short of that. But £3,000 a prize for all you got to do is be in the challenge and play. But I think some people will be generating significantly more than that as well, as we've got case studies and lots and lots of track records of people doing significantly better than that. I think the biggest one we've got so far in case studies was 50,000. Somebody else at 35,500. Somebody else at 15,000. Not going to be too difficult. Whether it's find or make, we should be able to help you. So join in the challenge.
Okay, all the details coming up right now. So let's head to our recording from our webinar last week of how to navigate the financial storm ahead. Tonight, we're talking about how to navigate the financial storm ahead. And of course, the news is full of doom and gloom, but we want to paint a little bit more of a brighter picture for you tonight and hopefully relieve some of those worries that some of you may have. So what are we going to cover tonight? We're going to show you how to save money, how to make money, and how to leverage that money so that you can build more wealth. And these are key points, Kevin. Tonight is not just about penny pinching.
No, it's a key point because, you can easily find ways by going online to save a few quid here and there. But that is not the purpose of Wealth Builders. It's to help you, yes, identify some things. I'm going to give you lots of ideas on what you can do to uncover some hidden money, but also how to generate more income coming into your life. And then how you take any of those things you make or things you save and identify and turn that into something else that leverages for you. And we'll talk about the different things that you may want to do during the course of our session, but definitely leverage means you're doing something with it. So it's not just identifying it, not just putting it in the bank and letting it fritter away. It's about making it work. And that's going to make a big difference, not just today, not just what you'll discover today, but what you'll put into practice for the weeks, the months, and even, Chris, the years ahead.
Absolutely. And tonight, we're also going to be sharing with you details of a 6-week challenge that Kevin and I are putting together. And this is going to be really exciting and going to help you get some massive results. So we'll be sharing more of that a little bit later on tonight. Okay. And our promise, Kevin, is a big one.
It's a big one. I think if you participate and you have to, you'll see later, it's all about joining in. If you participate in what we're doing, we're going to guarantee that you'll find an impact at least worth a minimum £1,000 to you. But don't stop there. 1,000 is the minimum. I'm going to show you examples of people who've saved tens of thousands with us, and we'll give you some of their case studies to see. So if you think we can get your attention enough that over a few weeks we can get you £1,000 in your hand, then it's definitely worth staying to the end so you understand how the challenge is going to work.
Absolutely. But we're going to give you plenty of tips tonight as well. And just before we get into the real meat of tonight, let's just introduce ourselves. So my name is Christian Rodwell. I'm the Membership Director for Wealth Builders. I'm also the founder of Escape the Rat Race. And I left my corporate job in the music industry around 7 or 8 years ago. I just was fed up of working for somebody else and wanted more time, wanted more freedom, wanted to be my own boss. And I also wrote a book called Sack Your Boss. And I've interviewed many, many successful entrepreneurs, marketing experts over the years across 2 different podcasts, 160 of those with Kevin for our Wealth Talk podcast, which I know many of you enjoy listening to. Kevin.
Oh, you want me to talk about me? Well,
yeah, go talk about yourself.
Well, look, I've been building my own wealth for 30 years and teaching it for 15. And my specialist area, if I was on Mastermind, would be how to create multiple recurring income streams in your life. And there are many ways to do that. And of course, I'm very passionate, as you know, not just about writing, but speaking. But what I get the greatest pleasure is interviewing, or at least debunking all the myths and all the challenges that come from people who say you can't build wealth. Well, you can. And the Wealth Talk podcast, Chris, where you do a great job of interviewing people, sharing those case studies of people doing it. So it's not just about what we're doing, it's we're showcasing others. And we'd love to shine a light on you if you've got a story that you can tell us as a result of the challenge.
All right. So let's get into this then. So we talked about the news just being full of various kind of quite depressing headlines at the moment, Kevin. So I guess, it all begins with the economic outlook.
Well, it does. And we're hearing words we haven't heard for decades, longer than you probably even than you've been alive, Chris. Stagflation. We definitely got spiraling inflation. Interest rates are on the rise, and aggressively so if you listen to what's going on in America now. And if the Bank of England will follow suit soon, I'm sure. We've got recession looming. We've got all sorts of different things that are causing problems. So definitely one of the big ones is inflation, Chris. And that's a killer. So when you got cash, if you're sitting on cash, any cash you've got in your hands for any length of time is just being eroded. So finding new ways to, get more cash, but put that cash to work is pretty critical. It's not just the interest rate rises, Chris. It's the fact that the banks are taking bigger margins. So when they do that, they profit take. The underwriting gets tighter. So we're going to see lots of people, 75% of the population with mortgages are on fixed rates right now. They're going to be coming to an end pretty soon. And the people who've got those fixed rate mortgages are going to get a shock when those rates start inching towards 5% and 6%. So there's going to be lots of shocks in the system, and we want to try and help you mitigate against those shocks.
Yeah, and of course, for various reasons, but certainly the war that's been going on, it's seen a massive surge in the energy prices, up to 90% increase in some places, Kevin.
Well, I think the new Prime Minister is trying to do something about that, but of course, that's not really going to solve the problem for many. I mean, too many people now are going to be in utility poverty, aren't they, really? So that's a big challenge. But, I think it's so bad, we're even seeing, some people, Chris, going on strike. Yeah,
there's definitely social unrest. And we had the barristers even recently, something we've not seen before, but of course, rail strikes. So, yeah, we're seeing more and more of this.
Well, I think it's not just the unrest from employed people. We said they've got the barristers and business owners and property people being hit just as much. And I've seen recently, posts going out trying to get 1 million people not to pay their utility bills. So there's lots and lots of unrest out there. So, anybody's affected by this. There's nobody who's immune from this. But what we're trying to do is try and put you in a position of control, because invariably when you actually look at it on a piece of paper, Chris, you're not in control of what's going on right now. And we want to change that dynamic. And so here's a little question. Chris, I see your cursors in the middle of the screen there. One of the things that would be useful to find out if anybody could put an answer in the Q&A. I do see there's an entry in the chat box there, Chris, so maybe something's happened there. What do you think the 8th of June is? So what was the 8th of June? Anybody would care to comment or put a note if the chat box is now working? What's the 8th of June? What's the significance of the 8th of June, do you think? Well, maybe I won't wait for the answer, Chris. I'll give the answer. But that's the date at which, according to the Adam Smith Institute, Adam Smith, a very famous economist, of course, they have a date each year called Tax Freedom Day. So that's the day when the average taxpayer stops paying the taxman and starts working for themselves. And that's the 8th of June, and that's the latest it's been in history. And it's just getting worse anyway. It's going to be moving further and further. And now with energy bills going up, you could be working till June to pay the taxman, then July and August to pay your energy bills. Then if you've got a mortgage, you've got to pay your debt bills. Well, not much left for you. And I think we need a little help. And that's why we've decided to step in and help people get a little bit more control And instead of just, well, woe is me, what can I do about it, is now to give you an opportunity to participate and try and claim back some of this for yourself.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
There's two ways to look at this, really, Kevin, isn't there?
Well, yeah, two ways. Be reactive, hunker down, batten down the hatches, duck your head below the parapet and hope it all blows over. Or get proactive. Be the owner of your own economy. Don't worry about what's happening with the economy. Control your own personal economy and be proactive so that instead of just letting the wind blow on you, you're doing something about it.
The set of the sail. So it comes from a Jim Rohn quote. I'm a big fan of Jim Rohn, and the same wind blows on us all, Kevin, but it's the set of the sail that determines the outcome.
Exactly right. So what we're going to do is try and help you set that sail, trim the sail, get it pointing in the direction of you finding money, making money, building more wealth. That's what the message is going to be tonight. So we're going to help you find hidden money, make more money, and build your wealth while everybody else is staying safe in the harbor and not venturing out. So that's what tonight's all going to be about.
Yeah. And we said at the beginning, this is not simply about cutting back on a cappuccino in the morning. We're talking about some big wins that are achievable tonight. So, certainly don't think this is just about, removing the nice things in life, not having nice meals, not going out, doing the things that you want. Okay, there might be some compromises that need to happen over the coming months, but certainly not about frugality here.
No way at all. I mean, budgeting sucks as far as I'm concerned. Anything that starts with you've got to start, budgeting and accounting for everything. No. Yes, you have to take stock, but taking stock in a sensible and a creative way. And we've got a whole process for doing that, Chris. And we're going to introduce our members already know about this because we've been using this step-by-step process to how to do this for quite a while now. But we thought it'd be good to share it with many other people as well. So we've got a whole framework for this, which is called D.E.B.I.T.S. So these are 6 areas in which we are going to focus. Tonight, we won't have a chance to go deep, but we will over the course of the coming weeks. So we're going to take one of these areas every single week and dive deep and help you find money in each of these areas. So each letter obviously stands for the word D.E.B.I.T.S, which is an acronym. I'm a teacher, Chris, everybody knows, so I love a good acronym, and there'll probably be 1 or 2 flying around tonight. But this one is D for debt, E for education, B for bills, I for insurance, T for tax, that's the big one you saw earlier on, and S for stock market fees. So we'll go into each of these a little, but you'll see once you get into finding, saving, and making money in every single one of these areas, and we've got hundreds and hundreds of case studies of people who are doing it. And what we're looking to do is create a community, a new community of debits, contributors, savers, and a community. So that instead of we just saying, you should do this or you should do that, or you Google this or that, you've got a whole community doing something, finding and making a distinction for you that you can go, wow, I didn't even think of that. And that's the joy of having a community around this. So this is going to be a community-led challenge. And we hope that you'd want to be part of the community. Our members who are already in our programs, they're coming in completely for free. And that's fine because we want them to take a fresh look at what's going on right now, because you have to take stock of what's current. But lots of good case studies, Chris, that you could highlight, and not just £1,000 either, right? No.
Well, let's have a look at some of the results that people have had following the D.E.B.I.T.S process. Luke here, you can see generating 3,384 just by going through D.E.B.I.T.S. And Erica.
That was per annum, not just 3,384. That's
absolutely.
Per annum.
And we'll see later the compound effect that can have as well when you start building that up. And an amazing result for Erica, who saved annual charges of £15,000 there. And no wonder she's got a glass of wine to celebrate that.
And celebrating that day.
And there seems to be a theme here because any big win warrants a drink. And Neil, incredible, £35,000 there after he was able to learn how to basically, remove those charges which were being applied to one of his pensions there and his wife. So, we're talking big wins here.
Big wins, and there's often things that when you're strong and confident about your ability to do something, and you can see there he says, I'm very appreciative for the guidance that I gave him personally. But it's when you know what to do, how you can negotiate, you can play your best hand. But he didn't think to play it. So we played it, showed him the cards and said, this is how you play it. He played it, got 35 grand. And if I remember, he got another 250 quid. Just because
compensation,
yeah, right. So technically that's 35,250. But he needed the 250 quid for a holiday, I think.
Well, I think both he and his wife got 250, so even better.
All right, there you go.
Yeah, so real life case studies here from our members that you've just seen there, and we're going to share with you, the same tips that we shared with all of them. So, emphasizing here, it's not just about saving the money, but then it's making money as well. And leveraging that. And again, you can compound this to get much greater results.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about. So as I said earlier on, so many places you can find a few quid here and find a few quid there. Lots of ways to do that, but it's taking the thought to then do something to make that money compound. It's like planting a seed. So instead of just eating it, instead of just leaving it, you're building your own set of orchards to give you wealth for the future. And the reason that's important is so that you can weather any future storms that come ever again. And will they come in the future? Yes, they will. But you'll be able to really create yourself, a real strong shelter around you. And we'll talk more about that later on.
Yeah. So let's start to get into it then. And we said there you can save money, make money, or leverage money. Now, we probably haven't got time to go through all of those different ways tonight, Kevin. So we'll be focusing on the saving money aspect. And another acronym here, RENT. So reduce, eliminate, negotiate, and transfer. Would you mind just explaining a little bit around those, Kevin?
Yeah. So there's always an opportunity where you've got some kind of outgoing in all of those debits areas to pay less. That means you're just going to reduce. So we'll give you some hints and tips on how to do that. Sometimes it's better to eliminate completely. Now, big bills like mortgages, you're not going to eliminate, but actually we can show you how to completely repay a mortgage fast if that's what you want to do. But eliminating means that when you remove it from your life, you've got that money to then reinvest somewhere else in life and build your wealth. Negotiation is a key skill, and we can show you what we've done to help people negotiate. Just talked about Neil there with 35,500 in his bank as a result of that. And the final one is, if you've got a business, it's possible to take bills that are in your current life that are post-tax. In other words, you paid tax, you spent what's left, you can make them pre-tax and transfer them to a business. Even if you don't have a business today, you could create one tomorrow, which could be the source of being able to claim that money back and get the government to contribute. And every time the government does that, it's free money. So you can claim money back from the government, not by a tax rebate, but just by switching something from a personal expense to a business expense. And we'll show you dozens of ways how to do that.
Okay, so let's get stuck into this then. So reminder here, the 6 areas that we'll be focusing on. And we know you can either reduce, eliminate, negotiate, or transfer. So beginning with D for debt, Kevin, consumer debt.
Yeah, well, obviously, we don't advocate the use of high interest cards and so on, but we recognize that some people will have them, and maybe some people have been tempted to take them as a result of current economic situations. But we've got some processes. There's a little secret we call marshal the forces, which helps you kind of organize your debt in a way that then builds a snowball as you start to reduce and eliminate them one by one. So you get to a place where, in the end, consumer debt is gone. Now, I know some people will play the zero interest game, and that's a game you can play until you can't play it anymore, but definitely ways you can reduce consumer debt.
Okay. Fixed rates, the next one up.
Mm-hmm. Well, I said earlier on, fixed rates, pretty much the most popular thing. And we had a mastermind session last night for our members, Chris, didn't we? And we had one of our partners talking about ways you can renegotiate your fixed rates and get on the ball so that you can secure your fixed rate 6 months out. So you're not in a situation where the rate's gone up, you've secured it in advance. So ways to do that if you're concerned about mortgage payments, either in your property portfolio or in your personal life.
Okay, and third one here for debt is flexible mortgages.
Yeah, two types of flexibility there, and we'll get into details on another day. One is the offset, which, again, we had a question on the mastermind last night, didn't we? So one of those is, how do you use, if you're sitting on money and you're just worried, how do you use money you owe to be offset by money you own? And by linking them together, you can pay the lowest amount of debt. And I had a flexible mortgage myself way back in the 90s and paid my own mortgage off in 7 years, 200 grand mortgage in 7 years. And the secrets of that are available, and we'll show them where they can get access to that. But another way you can do it is there are ways now you can turn your mortgage back into not just interest only. It is possible to go to interest only to give you a little bit of breathing space, but also you can be interest free in the sense that you don't have to make any repayments. You can roll up some of those repayments temporarily and pay them back when you want to, pay them back when you're ready to do that, perhaps when you build more wealth. So different ways that you can interact with your mortgage to reduce and control the levels of debt.
Yeah, and if you've got questions as we're going through, pop them in the Q&A. We'll get to those. We've got time for Q&A at the end of the webinar. Okay, so there's some ideas there for debt as to how you can reduce, eliminate, negotiate, transfer. Moving on to education. And the first one here is something called lend and learn. What do we mean by this concept?
Yeah, and remember that in the context of a short webinar, we're not going to be able to give you dozens of tips, but there are so many more that we could give. We just thought we'd pick 3 in each section just to stimulate your juices, to get you thinking and getting you curious about, wow, if I can learn these 3 in the space of a few minutes, what could I learn if I put myself through a challenge to discover them where you'd have them all laid out? So lend and learn. Well, we know that the best way to be proactive in any situation to build wealth, and particularly now, is through education. And one of the best ways to get education, we know that we paid for school education often and we pay for university education now. And so paying for education to build wealth is an important aspect of what we do. But it is possible if you've got, again, a bit like an offset, you've got money that you could lend to somebody who's going to teach you something, then you can get a double return. You can get a return on your money and a return on your intellect. So a double ROI at the same time. And we've got plenty of people who've done that, and they're building their wealth and getting a good, safe financial return on their money at the same time. So that's a good one.
Hey, this is, Wealth Builders, obviously our partners and our community, really important. And for our members, we're always out there seeking the very best people in the space of wealth. And we negotiate, in particular, you negotiate, Kevin, discounts.
Well, that's my skill. So I negotiate discounts on behalf of Wealth Builders and try and bring people who are outstanding in their field. That's what we want to be known for, working with outstanding people, not mediocre people. And we try and do our best to negotiate the best cost that we can for all of our members. And those discounts are transferred to you. So we're not taking money from that. We're passing those discounts on so that you can get your education, often 2 for 1, often 20%, 25% below what you pay somewhere else. And if you're building your education in property or business or intellectual property or any other ways you could build your wealth, then education is the cornerstone of that. And discounts from our trusted partners is a very good way to be able to make your money go further.
And of course, this could be applied for anyone on the webinar, Kevin, if they're looking at education elsewhere. And, times now, it's a good time to ask and, just simply ask if there's different 2 for 1 offers and things like that, which might be available.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Using your pension to pay for education costs. So how does this work?
Okay. Well, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because most people don't interact with their pensions very much, and more of that when we get to stock market. But a special type of pension, if you're a business owner, which is known as a SSAS or small self-administered scheme, actually puts you in complete control. So you're running your pension like you're running a business. And as I said, you can transfer costs that are relevant. So if you're buying education to learn commercial property, for example, because you want to buy commercial property with your pension, that can be paid for by the pension. So anything that's directly linked to how you want to make your pension grow is an education cost that can be defrayed and paid for in the pension, which is tax relievable, meaning the government will give you money, either 20% or 40%, or in some cases 60%. Won't go into details of how you can get 60%, but you can. So lots and lots of tax relief available. So you're getting money to pay for your education. Now, in a world where inflation's on the way up, if you can get the government to give you money, it's not a bad thing.
Okay. So moving on to bills. Now, we all have bills, of course, and there's many great websites out there, comparison websites, which, of course, we all know and would advise you to go as a starting point. Certainly, make sure that you're paying the lowest rates where possible. And this is all really just part of taking stock of your overall situation, Kevin.
Yeah, but you have to take stock now. When we put their current stock take it, do it again. Because utility bills not the same as before. You've got more negotiating power now than you've ever had before. And you'll see that's a constant theme. Negotiate. You can talk to people. And as long as you've done a bit of research, you can say, unless you give me a lower price, I'm going to go somewhere else. And if you've got the research, they'll match that. So I do that all the time. And we can show ways that other people do it. And then you can just copy that, because if it works for one, you've got the precedent that it will work for another.
Cashback and bank transfers. There's some good offers out there at the moment we've seen.
Yeah, banks are obviously looking to make more money. As I mentioned earlier on in the debt piece, they're raising their margins. And one of the things, when you understand how bank lending works, is they need more deposits. So they've got more leverage to lend more money. So they're fighting at the moment to get your money in their hands. And one of the ways they do that is there are at least 4 banks at the moment offering £175. So there's your first 175, guys, to move your bank account to them, and they pay you 175 quid once you've transferred the money and paid a bit of salary or whatever it is in there, and they take care of all your direct debits. So easy way to get 175 quid, and if there's 2 of you, you can do it twice. Cashback, lots and lots of cashback cards. So you can use a card, not necessarily to build debt, but to use cards to get cash back. And if you're getting cash back, you're getting a discount. So inflation won't be hurting you as much if you're getting cash back for the purchases that you're making.
Yeah, good point. Okay, and transferring the cost of bills to your business. So an example of this could be like a mobile phone. You might be paying that in your personal name. Perhaps that could be a business cost. Yeah,
and what about, we both drive electric cars, Chris? So we transfer the cost of, I never had a company car ever because didn't want to pay the tax on benefit in kind, which is a hidden tax. But as soon as the electric cars came in, that's when I stepped in. I've got an electric car, you've got an electric car, and those costs are met by the business. And there are many costs, especially now we're in hybrid working environments, that you can claim, and you can go back 4 years and claim for utility bills that you set up if you worked from home during COVID. So there's lots of things you can actually go back. Did you know you could go back 4 years and claim that money back? So, interesting things you can do, puts money in your bank account, even from 4 years ago.
Absolutely. And the cost of a charge is a lot cheaper than the cost of a tank of petrol on top of that. Okay, right. Moving on to insurance now then. So, clear to really understand what type of insurance is important, because so many people are paying for insurance that they probably don't need.
I think taking stock again of what you think is important. I'll give you a WealthBuilders perspective on insurance. Only insure the things that are critical to you. So you don't need to insure your washing machine and your phone and all of those things that are incidentals that you'd be uncomfortable if you lost them, but you wouldn't be devastated. The things that are most important to ensure is the well-being of your family and yourself if something really terrible occurs in your life. So whether you die, whether you've got illness, anything like, I'm hearing myself replay, Chris. No, that's gone away again. That's fine. So anything at all that supports your family, because we're all about wealth building, and wealth building is about making sure that if you can't create the plan to build the wealth for your family, then make sure that the wealth happens if the worst happens to you. And that's the view we take. And we constantly review insurance because we want to make sure that as you build your wealth and the wealth goes up, your need for insurance comes down. Whereas most insurance sellers will try and sell you for the longest period because that's why they make more commission over a sort of 10, 12-year period when you can buy insurance in smaller blocks. So lots of ways you can save to get less on or pay less for insurance or get more cover for the same amount of money.
Okay, excesses. So this would be reducing or paying the maximum excess so that you reduce your premium. Exactly right.
And for most people, they're told, this is the premium and this is the standard excess. Well, what's the bigger excess? Instead of 250, is it 1,000, say, on car insurance? You can always look at excesses. And if you've got insurance, for example, because you're self-employed and you've taken out income protection or something like that, which covers you for illness after 4 weeks. But once you build an emergency fund, let's say you save some money here, you build an emergency fund, you could push that out to 13 weeks or push that out to 26 weeks or push that out to a year. And then you're only really going to get paid in insurance if you're seriously ill, but that's what you need. But then the cost of the premium has dramatically fallen when you do that.
Okay, relevant life. So tell us a bit more about this type of insurance, Kevin.
Well, this is the transfer again. This is when, if you've got life cover, you've normally paid for that after tax, but you can switch it to a company and your company can pay the premium. So you get tax back on the premium, which means when you take out the fact that you have to pay tax on the income and then national insurance on the income, you can reduce your premiums. If you've got a limited company, if you've got a business, you can reduce your costs typically by 50%. Again, that's a lot of money, Chris. If you can save 50% on something, you should look at it. Now, even if you don't want to save 50%, you could double your cover because you didn't insure enough when you took stock and looked at what's important and decide, well, actually, I need more for my family than. And more often than not, when I talk to people about how much they've got, it's a round number, some kind of random number that just popped in their head, or the salesman or salesperson sold it to them. So do it properly. And the other point I'll make, which is nothing to do with saving money here, but putting it in trust, because the saving there is the saving of time and inheritance tax by just ticking a box, put it in trust, so it doesn't have to go through the complexity of wills and probate. And we haven't even talked about that, but that's another bill in your life that you could cover, or even in the insurance section, which we call the roof, don't we, Chris, separately, how to protect yourself on the roof. So how to really get all your legal things and affairs in order at a fraction of the cost that you might go if you were paying commercially.
Yeah. Now, I know we're covering a lot of information here and we're going at quite some pace. We've already covered debt, education costs, bills, and insurance here. And we're just pulling out a few ideas, a few from many different ones that we have got available. And I can see there's questions which we'll definitely be coming on to later. But let's continue, because T is next for tax. And this is where we really start getting into some big wins. So tax allowances, Kevin, first up.
Yeah, there's a whole raft of different things because, tax is a complex series of levels. You've got the simple levels, basic rate, and then you've got the rate between 100 and 125 grand, where it's a 60% tax bill. And then you've got a higher rate, then you've got that rate, then you've got additional rate tax. There are so many ways that by looking at your tax affairs, including things like your tax code, you can look at that, and with a little bit of help, you can cut the cost of your tax bill. And that's all pervasive. So you've got to be looking at maximizing and using all the allowances that are possible, including things like child benefit get affected. So you've got to know where you are. Most employed people don't, and most self-employed people tend to focus on the corporation tax bill and not on their personal tax bill.
Tax relief. Now, this applies to business owners.
Well, it applies to everybody. Because there are ways that if you're a higher rate taxpayer, you can use a pension and bring yourself down below that. There's also something called salary sacrifice, which basically means you're getting the same pay, but you get an additional contribution to your pension. So don't worry about understanding all of these things. Just know that we know how to do them, and we're going to help you build your own kind of matrix of opportunity so you can find these tax reliefs that are available. Business owners, so many more tax reliefs, property owners, lots and lots of tax reliefs, and we'll be giving more specific tips on that from our partners who are experts in their field.
Okay, and family and children as the last one for tax, Kevin. What do we mean specifically here?
Well, I touched on child benefit, which you do certain things and you lose child benefit. But let's not forget that children have their own tax allowance. They can earn 12.5 grand tax-free. So you can use, I don't mean use your children, you know what I mean, but your children are entitled to an allowance, and we'll show you ways that you can legitimately use the children to both help them become more involved in money decisions. And the family talks about money, involves them in the money, and at the same time actually gets you a reduction in your tax bill.
Okay. So stock market fees, we saw an example earlier from Erica, and yes, typical 2% fees. So 2% doesn't sound too much, Kevin.
No, it doesn't sound much at all. Most people are paying retail for their stock market. So they're buying through an intermediary, they're holding a platform, they've got a custodian, all this language, but basically means everybody in the chain needs to be paid. Typically, the total cost of that is 2%. Now, if the stock market typically, over the long term, gives you 6%, that means a third of your money is going in fees and charges, and sometimes even more than that. And it's not just the impact of a third of your money, but think about who's taking the risk. You. Who's put the money in? You. Do they get paid if the stock market goes down? Yes. If it goes down terribly, can you sue them for not getting you out? No. So all the deck is stacked in favor of the industry. And what I'm saying is there are ways that you can take control and dramatically reduce the fees without reducing your level of performance. In fact, if you reduce the fees, all of the things being equal, stock market works exactly the same. You're going to make more money because you're paying less fees. And we think you should be aiming for 1%. So we think you can reduce your fees by 50% on the stock market. And you can definitely negotiate those. In everything you do, this is the area where you've got the biggest power of negotiation, because you know how much money they're making. We get everybody who participates to find out what their total charges are. There's a technical term for it, but I won't share it. And once you find out and we show you how you can negotiate, you can get those fees down. Or instead of having fees that are linked to a percentage, just get them to do a fixed piece of work every now and again. So IFAs typically will charge a percentage. You know, we saw one where an IFA was charging 0.75%. Doesn't sound a lot, but on a property portfolio that they weren't building and they weren't managing, but it was just part of the original setup. You can remove that and say, look, you can do this work. I'll pay you 500 quid to do the work, and then that's it. So many ways to transfer stock market fees from percentages to fixed. And I encourage people to think about that, or at least get the best possible value from whoever they've chosen to work with. If they're getting great service, fantastic, but at least know you are, so you know what's the fair rate. We can tell you what that fair rate should be. Yeah, and of course, there's so many ways to get tax back and use allowances in the stock market. You know, lots of different reasons why. ISAs can sometimes be a good thing. Junior ISAs, a whole raft of different things that are available and that are tax-free and sometimes safe with national savings and so on. So we'll cover all of those, both for grown-ups and for kids.
Okay, so there's the 6 areas. So we've covered 18 different ideas there in a very short space of time. Now, just imagine if you took action on just 3 or 4 of those, what kind of results you could get. And this is just tip of the iceberg. We've got so many more, which we have been helping our members with, and we would love to help you with as well. So hang on for details of the challenge, which we'll share a little bit later. Okay, so the key here is not just finding the money and then sitting on it or sticking it in the bank, but it's actually putting that money to work, Kevin. And there's different ways that this can be achieved.
Well, undoubtedly, some people might want to save some money and improve their lifestyle because they're under pressure. No reason why you wouldn't do that. But there are other positive benefits as well, and we touched on some of those in the debits. So one of those for sure would be, if you've got rising interest rates, they're coming, you could find the savings that you reveal in the challenge and help you reduce your debt, whether that's consumer debt, mortgage debt, property portfolio debt, whatever debt you've got, you can point that money at the highest cost debt and bring down your long-term costs. Well, a big one here, Chris, as we know, is, if you're saving some money, well, why not use that money to get the education that you need to elevate your own skills, as you said here, sharpen yourself, sharpen the saw from Stephen Covey, of course. And then if you combine that with 2-for-1s and lend and learns and other things, you're combining different things. So you're not just seeing one thing in isolation, you're compounding saving upon saving upon saving and making that work in the way that best suits you.
And of course, at the heart of Wealth Builders, our 7 pillars of wealth, it's about diversifying across different asset classes. So building another financial asset here.
And the reason why that's critical is if you've only got 1 or 2 assets, but you build another one, you plant another tree, in other words, then what you're doing is you're building that safety and that diversification for the future. But you have to start somewhere. And we want you to start in the next 6 weeks.
Okay, and here's an illustration which just shows the power of compound growth. And we can see the blue bars there, an investment of £1,000. If you just pop that in and let it, grow for 20 years at 6%, that would increase to 3,207. And the orange bars there, if you were to put £1,000 deposit every year, and the compound growth there would grow to 49,000. So what we might be talking about now is finding a few hundred from here or there, or obviously a few tens of thousands in some cases, Kevin, but no matter how small, it's the power of that long-term growth.
Particularly if you can find something you're replacing or eliminating or negotiating or transferring forever, then you're going to bank on the orange line. So yes, you can save some money and you can just plant it and make it work. But even saving £1,000 will be worth 3,200 to you. So 1,000 is the minimum we expect you to find. Many of you will find tens and tens of thousands. We won't be surprised at that at all because it happens in our lifetime with our clients every day.
Yeah, and we can't wait to see those stories being shared in the community. Oh. So here's just a few more of our members. Andy here, you can see reducing his mortgage term there, and that saved him £3,500 on interest. Just go back a step, Chris, just to help me out, because the thing that I like most about Andy's is I was spurred into action. It was overdue. He knew he should do it, but he didn't do it. And why didn't he do it? Life got in the way. So by being involved, and of course he's in our community and he's paid a fee to be in the community, that's fine. We're not encouraging you to do that. But because he did, we were coaching him and prodding him every single month. Now, we're not going to be doing that for you, but 6 weeks of a challenge can be your own little prod. You could be prodding yourself to do things deep down you've been putting off. I'm sure there's many of you, and there are hundreds on this call this evening, Chris, and many more will watch the recording, who will be going, I really have been putting that off for a while. If you've been putting it off, don't put it off. You're going to get shocked at how much you're saving. And then when you see what other people are doing, you're going to be inspired to follow what they're doing and save even more. Just a little side note, because I spoke to Andy today. He sent me a WhatsApp this morning and he had the conversation with his boss. He was pretty much at the point 2 years after joining Wealth Builders and really focusing on building assets across different pillars. So he's built a business. He's now in property portfolio. He's creating IP. And he was ready to basically sack his boss. So he had the conversation this morning, and I think it all went well. So congratulations to Andy. Really, really great work there. But more savings, and Helen here following the debits process, and she found a pension which she was able to transfer for £17,500. So big numbers once again. Adnan, even bigger. So we remember this very clearly. Early founder member, And we were talking about lost pensions, Kevin, something we haven't really touched on, but probably such a big area that people should be aware of. And Adnan had pretty much overlooked or forgotten about an old workplace pension, which when he did discover it after a bit of prodding from ourselves, realised that he had £50,000 sat there, which he was then able to obviously put to work for him.
And that's a biggie because, there's 20 billion. That's a big number, Chris. That's not 1,000 quid. That's, 20 billion pounds worth of pension assets that are lost and floating around. They're called, actually, there's a name for it in the pension industry. They're called orphaned pensions. Can you believe that? And nobody's sending the babies back home where they belong. We're going to help you do that. So we're going to help you, if you want to, find your old, lost and forgotten pensions and turn them into money that you can use now. Because there are ways you can turn your money now into property, into business, into other things, or just get you back planting seeds in the stock market, whatever you prefer. But there's always money to find in pensions. And while we didn't cover that today, not specifically, we will be covering that in the challenge.
So hopefully we have demonstrated to you that there are so many ways that you can uncover hidden money in your life, money that's sat there right now you didn't even realize probably was there. And with a little bit of digging, with a little bit of knowledge, with a little bit of help and support, there could be tens of thousands of pounds, just like all of those members we've already shown you tonight. So are you ready to take some action to actually apply this in your own life? And have the help of Kevin, myself, and all of the other members who are going to be taking part in the D.E.B.I.T.S challenge as well. So let's look at the D.E.B.I.T S challenge, Kevin. And we're really excited about this. We've put in so much hard work. It's a process we've been teaching for years, but we've really kind of boosted it up. We've put a lot of effort, a lot of time to look at all the different ways that people can really kind of remove those worries they might have over the coming months and find extra money which they can save or they can make and put it to work for them. So let's look at what's included then. So in the 6-week D.E.B.I.T S challenge, which is going to kick off on Wednesday of next week, so the 21st of September, and we're going to have a private Facebook group for all of our challenge members. So when you register and join the challenge, you will be entered into a private group, which is where the community will be. And that's where we, Kevin and I, will be showing up live every week. And we'll be doing a session on the D, the E, the B, the I, the T, and the S of D.E.B.I.T S. So one section every week, and going into some real detail as to the areas you can be looking at, and then providing you with all of the tools, the checklists, the worksheets that you need to go off and do that little bit of work. So about a couple of hours a week, Kevin, is probably enough to show up, watch the live, go and take some action, and then obviously post those comments and results in the group. Right. All about finding and making more money. And as we said, this is powered by the community. You're going to find some wonderful things that we didn't know about, Kevin. Every time we hear new websites or new ways that people are discovering money, and that just adds to the resources that we've already got.
Exactly right. So I'm looking forward to it. I really am.
Yes. So if you want to join us, head to wealthbuilders.co.uk/challenge. And we are charging for this, but only £95. And when we've shown you just how much is possible, then this is a small price to pay. And we're not really making any money from this, Kevin. This is just to cover costs. Yeah,
look, we've obviously having to take on some teams to manage the internals and to put our time and get our experts to bring in the tips and spending time on the live. So we're really not trying to make any money from this. We're trying to build a community that we can learn so much more, because you'll be doing some things and learning some things from other people. And also it means you're going to show up, because 6 weeks, we knew, is a long time. It's not a week's challenge, it's 6 weeks. So it's 95 quid, it's including the VAT. We don't make a penny from any ideas we suggest. We're not an affiliate of anybody. Everything is about putting every single penny that you make in your bank account, and none of it in ours.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've been showing up live. Here's us on a podcast, but we'll be live in that Facebook group every week, so you can talk to us, you can share questions, and we've got checklists and worksheets for all of the different areas which you will have access to. And actually, when you register, you'll get access to a private membership area, and that's where all of the recordings will be stored. So if you don't use Facebook, don't worry, you can still participate in the challenge. You'll get access to all of the recordings and you'll get access to all of the worksheets. So don't worry, Doesn't matter if you're not a Facebook user, but if you are, you'll get the added bonus of being in that community environment as well. And we're going to be bringing in some prizes. So we've got lots of things to give away throughout the 6 weeks. We've got our famous wealth chart, which is a kind of wipe clean chart with pens where you can plot your progress. And we have the wealth thermometer on there. So our members get sent a copy of this when they join us. And we're going to be giving away some free copies of that throughout the 6 weeks. We're also going to be giving away some wealth strategy calls. So these are really fantastic. These are 60 minutes where we create a mind map, which we call the wealth map. And it's unlike anything you've ever seen before. It really gives you the bird's eye view of all of your assets and your income. And it can allow us to help you pinpoint what the right pillars or assets are that you can be focusing on to build your wealth. So we'll be giving away some of those throughout our 6 weeks. And then one big prize at the end of the 6 weeks, for those of you that are really participating and playing full out, you will enter the spin the wheel competition. And we do an online spin the wheel, me and Kevin, and you can join us live for that. And whoever is the lucky winner will get a 3 years membership to the WealthBuilders Academy, which is valued at just under £3,000. So some great prizes. We'd love for you to take part. If you're ready to join us, then head over to wealthbuilders.co.uk/challenge. As I said, we're kicking off next Wednesday, so the 21st of September. So join us now. We can get you into the Facebook group. We'll start sharing some of the resources. We'll start getting you ready for the big day next Wednesday. And we've also brought in some of our experts, Kevin.
Well, all of our industry experts are experts in their own field. So they'll have a unique perspective that we'll be asking each of them, and there's dozens, there's just a handful here, that will be sharing specific tips that you can action in different areas of building wealth, whether it's property, whether it's tax, whether it's a whole raft of things, stock market, you name it. We've got different people who are going to give you something actionable that you can follow up to make money and to save money and to build more wealth.
Yeah. So everything we've covered tonight, we're going to show you how to go through that for yourself, plus lots more. And we've got some bonuses. So if you're an employee, we'll be running a bonus session, which we call How to Make More on the Side. And this was a podcast episode we did a while ago, Kevin, but perhaps you can explain more.
Well, look, it's just a way that you can apply your thinking to find ways to generate additional streams of income. So this is definitely focused on the making, and it's definitely for employees. And again, another acronym I won't share with you now, but it's definitely a way that you'd want to show up. If you're an employee, it's a great thing to be able to find new ways to get more money coming into your life automatically.
Okay, and more angled at the business owners, we're going to be sharing different ways that you can use bartering and trade skills. And Kevin, we know there's some big opportunities here.
Look, everything in business is about capacity, so the whole bartering and trading is about unused capacity, so you can learn how you can offer what you do in exchange for what somebody else does. But instead of having to barter literally, you can do that, of course, and we will often do that. But you can use platforms where you can put your services in, you get a credit for that, somebody else buys those. So you're basically being able to redistribute your money, but you're getting the highest price because you're getting full price on your service, and you're trading that for another skill or a service that you want for yourself, like a restaurant or an accountant, for example. So, we use trading and bartering skills all the time, particularly around marketing. We'll invite somebody and we'll teach them something in Wealth Builders in exchange for some of their marketing time. So who knows, you could be bartering with us.
Now, we've just mentioned that we'll be giving away a free place on the Wealth Builders Academy, and that's our premium program for helping employees and business owners to move from financial insecurity to financial independence. And the starting point, we always sit down, we speak to our members, Kevin, and we understand what is it that's driving you? Why do you want to build wealth? And in almost all cases, it's more time, it's more freedom of choice, but also to leave a legacy for their family. And this is such an important aspect of what we do.
Yeah. So, we'll be running a session called How to Be a Fantastic Money Role Model for Your Kids. And that's kids from 8 to 28. I'm a dad too, and, I've got kids much older, of course, but bringing money onto the table. practical lessons that you can use to involve your children in money. And instead of making money taboo, you're making money to do. And we can show you some practical steps that you can take. And in the future, we'll do another challenge on this. We'll definitely, I can see that coming, and creating a whole program around families and bringing financial literacy into sharper focus, because so much more of it is online, and kids are getting education in the wrong direction because it's all about comparing themselves online to others and so on. So we want to put an end to that and bring money, but fairly and squarely at the right level with the right education. We've even got a children's author who writes blogs, and we'll be sharing some of those as well.
Okay, so hopefully you can see everything that's included there and the benefits that you can get from that. And Kevin, we're going to be playing all out. We're going to be there for the full 6 weeks. We're going to be diving in every day, answering questions, really supporting everybody in the challenge. And we're just going to see that snowball over the 6 weeks as we see more and more people obviously contributing and putting in the results that they're getting.
Yeah. And we want to make it risk-free as well. So we're not asking you to take a risk. We're just saying, work with us, and, we will make sure, look at me, we will make sure you make at least £1,000. And I'm going further than that. I'm going to say this, which you can share on the next slide, Chris. All right? So at the end of the 6 weeks, if you haven't made 10x on your money, because we're not doing this for profit, we're doing this for momentum, then we, and I, if I have to, will work with you until you get that money. We will obsess around this to get you that money so that your small investment, it is a small investment, but an investment nonetheless, but you have to show up and put a little bit of time in each week, but it will be fun and engaging. It won't be like going back to school and doing homework. So if you're serious about wanting to save some money, to make some money, and to learn how to build your wealth, and you want to do it risk-free, just sign up to the challenge.
I hope you enjoyed listening back to the webinar recording just then. And if you would like to join us in the challenge, then you can do so by heading to www.wealthbuilders.co.uk/challenge. And we're kicking off with week 1, which is D for Debt, on Wednesday, the 21st of September. But don't worry, if you're listening to this podcast a few days or even a few weeks later, you can still jump in and join us, and we'll be recording all of the sessions and making them available for you to watch back in your own time. So if you'd like to find or make £1,000 and work with Kevin and myself, then head to wealthbuilders.co.uk/challenge, and we look forward to seeing you there.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget that we are constantly updating our resources inside the Wealth Builders membership site to help you create, build and protect your wealth. Head over to wealthbuilders.co.uk/membership right now for free access. That's wealthbuilders.co.uk/membership.